Happy Wednesday and welcome back to another amazing episode of Musicians Hangout with your hosts, Crash Fist Fight, the Booty Pop Moopsie, and Maxine Maxwell of the Maxwells.
Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. It is so great to be back and we have an amazing evening planned for you tonight. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, we do.
We've had some amazing things happening. I mean, we had a girls' weekend together, had such a good time with you friends.
Always such a good time.
Oh my goodness, have we got some stories and some pictures to share with y'all. Oh my goodness, we had a blast.
Yeah, we did. Always.
I can't wait for the next time you come out and hang out with me.
Which will be our anniversary, so you guys know it's going to be an amazing, epic time.
It's going to be so great. So
and you know you're going to be coming and partying with us.
Absolutely. It's 4 years this year, and we are going to be celebrating that in May. Can't wait. We've got some big things to announce soon, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go over our mission statement for Musicians Hangout, and then we're going to introduce our guests for tonight. All right, our mission statement here is to be part of a revolution to create friendships with other artists and build a community network to save music. We are going to welcome Sons of the Force to our show tonight.
Boom.
Hey, Scott. Hi, Derek.
Welcome.
Hello, Crash.
Hello.
Maxine.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. Well, where are you guys streaming from tonight?
I am down in my basement where I am surrounded by all of my record albums and posters and music things. Since it was a music themed show, I thought that would be apropos.
Like the largest collection I've ever seen.
Definitely.
You got to see this later. We're going to take you on a tour. Derek's going to show you this epic collection of vinyl. Oh my gosh. So are you in the Seattle area, Tacoma?
I live in Tacoma, yes,
Okay.
indeed.
All right.
Lifelong resident, born and raised here.
Sweet. Oh, cool.
And I'm coming to you from South Hill, Puyallup.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yep, that's where I'm in. I'm hanging out in the room where all my guitars live, unless they're being taken to a gig or to do something else. And I have a far more modest record collection, but I do have one as well. And I've lived here my whole life, was raised in Issaquah and lived in Tacoma for a bit myself. And now I'm in Puyallup.
Very
Your
cool.
wall
So
looks like a trading musicians.
Pacific Northwest. Bill, we're
Yes.
all on the West Coast. Awesome.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, we
have
got Scott
a
into
decent
vinyl now,
scene.
so
like
that's a
our
good thing.
scene is one of the best in the nation, I would say. Like we have a great community here for musicians. I love it.
100%. It's amazing how much we protect it, right? Like it's so abundant when you get east of the Mississippi, because the next town is like 4 hours away, no matter where you are, or less.
Yeah.
So they can, kind of have an army of musicians no matter where they're at. But here we're off on our own in a cocoon, and the next closest place is 4 hours away. And then after that, it's God knows how far. And, so we have to take care of each other out here, because no one will notice.
We do.
Yeah, otherwise.
Yeah.
And look at how many great bands have come out of this area.
Absolutely.
Like we have Heart. We have, the entire, all of the bands from the 90s. And actually, speaking of the 90s, you guys will never guess who showed up at my work today.
Oh, what?
No.
Mark Arm from the band Mudhoney.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Who works at Sub Pop in the warehouse, distributing
Yes.
records to
Yes.
all of the vinyl
Yes,
fans.
and Sub Pop, I just work a few blocks away from Sub Pop. So, he walks down to get soup from us.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
every time he leaves, I'm like, there goes sickness.
Oh, that's so cool.
You know what? I own a trucking company, and many years ago, I used to drive all the time myself. And one of the places I would pick up frequently was I'd pick records up from Sub Pop that were most of the time going to Australia. And every single time I'd go in there, you would have Mark Arm tender you the freight.
Yep. He's such a nice person too.
100%.
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool when other musicians, especially the bigger musicians, are so humble and so, down to earth and cool with just everybody.
Yes.
I wanted to ask him what the deal was, why Mudhoney pulled out of their last show, but I was nice.
Ooh, well, maybe you can ask him next time he comes to see you.
Well, they're supposed to. Well, Mudhoney's supposed to be playing soon too, so we'll see how that happens. If not, I'm going to give him shit when he comes for his soup sandwich.
Put a little note on his soup. What happened?
Right? What happened? Here's to you, Mark Arm.
Cheers
with the ginger beer.
With our ginger beers, because we are honoring a sober month for February. Cheers.
Cheers.
Uh-oh. I won't show you that I'm having a glass of wine.
Oh, it's okay.
Here.
It's okay.
No, it's okay.
I have a root beer, if that counts. So
yes, you can have root
there
beer.
We go.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Bump it down.
So, guys, tell us about your journey as musicians. So, how about Derek first, since you're the first one on the screen for me and in the rotation?
Okay, well, as I said, I'm a old Tacoma native. I was born back in the Columbus Day storm back in 1962. I'll let you all do the math on that one.
We don't do math here. Nope.
But I always enjoyed singing as a kid, and it's been an interesting journey to get where I am today, playing with Sons of the Forest. But I sang in choirs when I was young, just to get an easy grade. And then I got out of the service and I met up with an old friend and we started writing some songs, and that looked promising. And then that fell apart. And then I did I just played on my own a little bit. And then I met someone else. I wrote some more songs. That didn't pan out. Then I decided I was going to become, just an open mic strumming singer kind of guy. Did that for a little bit, and my son and Scott's son knew each other and knew we both played guitar, and they were telling us that we should get together, and we knew each other casually through coaching, and I coached his son and all of those. He coached my son. And finally one day, Scott and Ken, our drummer who is not here, he invited me to their private rehearsal, and I showed up totally unprepared to sing like for a band. It was a totally different thing, but they put up with my growing pains for a while, and then it got very interesting and started bringing ideas in and songs, and we worked them. And then we have, for the last few years, during the COVID era, we put together something that we thought was quite good, and we recorded it, and now we're out trying to play and doing iPods with casts with wonderful people here. And so that's kind of mine in a nutshell without going on for too long about it. I just started out singing, learned to play a little guitar, went from that, and now I'm singing and playing some guitar and writing in a band.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story.
Heck yeah.
Just only took me 60 years, but hey, whatever.
Well, and we're a talk show, so you're allowed to talk and ramble. So
yeah,
never feel bad about that here. I'm guilty of that. I ramble a lot.
Well, I talk so much during the day that I'm like, I don't know, is it too much? So that's... My students get tired of listening to me. They're like, Mr. Hartman, could you just stop?
You're a teacher? I am too.
Oh, are you? Yes, I am. I teach a 3, 4, 5 highly capable mixed group.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so they're like, just could you stop, man? Could we just have a moment of peace and quiet? Just a moment.
Mr. Hartman.
Perhaps. Just maybe. We'll see.
I'm an art teacher, so I get to be creative. Yeah.
Well, that's excellent, because I make them do that within what we do. I incorporate art into the work as opposed to being separate from the work.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Very therapeutic for all students.
Indeed. I'd like to see how creative they can be when you just let them go.
Let them be. Yeah, just let them be. Let them do their thing.
That's the most beautiful
You'll
thing.
You'll be surprised what kids will show you.
Watching them just independently create in their own way is so beautiful.
Yeah, and without all of those stringent guidelines to let them take a simple idea and watch how diverse it is among the group itself, that from that idea, look how many different interpretations we've gotten from it.
You're a good teacher. Yeah, I can sense that. Yeah, you got it, dude.
So that's me in a little nutshell there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Derek.
Oh, thank you.
Scott? How did you start out as a musician? What's your journey?
Well, I was about 17 and was kind of looking for the next thing to stand out as a high school kid. And so I picked up a guitar, right? I mean, a pretty common reason to do it, right? You know, and really have been playing ever since. I feel like I take playing pretty seriously, you know, and more so at the beginning because, you know, the teenager, when they're motivated, has an awful drive for anything, right? You know, and so that was kind of it. If our drummer was on, he could probably elaborate more on this, but him and I have been playing since I was 18 together, off and on. Yeah, we were in a band in the 90s, and we actually played around a little bit in Seattle. The name of the band was Polarity Runes. Kind of a terrible name, but
I like the name. That's cool.
You know,
I dig it.
And so we used to play a lot in the 90s at places like we played the Color Box 2 or 3 times in Pioneer Square. The long narrow space, you know. Gosh, where else did we play that was interesting? We used to play a lot of all ages shows in Auburn. There was a couple places in Fife back in the day we would play. There were a couple of other places in Seattle. We played Cafe Paradiso on the top floor of the coffee shop back then. And so him and I have played together for a while. You know, I've always had a little bit of a touch for the noise and color and ambience that music can bring. I've always kind of brought that duty to my guitar playing too. Like I do like all out riffage, you know, like the next guy, but I also like to you know, try to provide something in between the notes, so to speak. You know,
you would noodler?
A little bit, yeah. I bend the strings a little, you know.
Cool.
You know, and I do like to just jam with people.
You look like a noodler. Yeah, you look like a noodler.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
My guitarist is also a noodler. Like he's serious Berkeley trained noodler.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Man. And every time, every band practice comes with some sort of education theory that goes with it. So
I don't try to burden anyone with that, right? You know, like I'll interject little things about that, but I can't read or anything, but I understand the whole neck and, you know, modal theory from a visual approach, you know. But I'm not really a shredder. I'm more of a bluesier type of guy. But you know, I've kind of played. You know, I've played for 30 years. I had a couple of jam sessions where Ken, the drummer, and I reconnected in probably 2015, you know, or thereabouts, where like we would rent a room at Soto Pop and just get together and just improvise. Like some of these sessions we would get in and purposefully not say anything to each other and just play. And some of those sessions involved, you know, previous musicians we played with. And, you know, and then Ken, you know, he's a tech worker. He reached a point in his career where his wife is Austrian, where he moved to Austria for about 2 years, I would say 2.5 years with her. And then you know, they ended up moving back, and like pretty much the minute he moved back, he hit me up and was like, I've been missing playing music with you and just being here. And I know it was very flattering. He's a hell of a drummer.
Oh,
he's kind of a jazz trained. He always adds like a little swing and a little like, you know, we'll play something that's very straight, but he'll add a part that you wouldn't imagine would go with it, but does, right? You know, he's that kind of guy. And so
is he an over-under player?
Yeah, a little bit like that, you know, a little bit. little bit more Grace Notey and Ghost Notey, you know.
Yeah.
Williams-esque.
Yeah, his favorite drummer is Tony Williams, the jazz guy, and
Okay.
he plays with a fairly small kit, you know, and he's that guy, you know. Yep, yeah, he's like a 5-piece at the most, and
Yes.
him and I have always had, you know, almost telekinesis musically. We just have always had a connection to it, and so we had played together a couple of times. We had a place where you could rent by the hour. We invited Derek in. Derek brought some of his songs, and you know, a lot of them are really great songs, but they were, you know, like to his point earlier, kind of strummy open mic things. And the first thing I'm going to do is take them and write a riff. How can I write a riff that will make this thing, you know, kind of break it up? And that's kind of Ken's thing too.
Cool.
You know, and so we've kind of come from, you know, from then till now as, you know, it's an interesting counterpoint between ideas Derek will bring in and ideas that I'll bring in as far as songwriting. So, I mean, you can make all the Beatles comparisons you want, but I think in this sense, it's a little fair, right? Like,
okay.
You know, so we come, you know, it provides variety in the songwriting.
Right.
And the songwriting is almost never complete when it comes in because Ken will always tweak everything.
Oh.
Yes. Ken is phenomenal at that. He will, whether it be Scott or myself coming in with the main riff and Scott adding color to it. And I'm the opposite because I didn't study music. I know I can sing a little. I know notes and things, but like the guitar, I just play around. I know the basic chord shapes and stuff, but I'm like, what's this here? I like this. I don't know if it's supposed to go together. I don't care. I'm just going to put it. Sounds good. And then Scott's like, well, let's do that. But if we had this, and then Ken's like, no, here's how we need to do this. We got to break it down like this. So he kind of is our John Paul Jones of our band in that sense, where he is the orchestrator and takes those pieces and connects them together. And then, like Scott said, it's really, I always find it interesting. I mean, when you have a band that's predominantly a rock band, but the drummer is a jazz influenced drummer.
Yeah.
So it changes the entire dynamic of the way you play.
A totally different layer and a different feel. Yeah.
And the fills are different, and it isn't just, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, just you know, AC/DC in the back.
No, it's the like that.
Hey, you guys, we have some questions in the chat. So let's see. Troy wants to know, love to know your goals or events coming up in 2023.
Well, I'll start. Well, we have an event coming up March 4th at the Spanish Ballroom where we are playing with Bad with Birds and Forrest Ray. We're in the middle slot because I have to be home and in bed by 11 because I'm old.
Middle's a really good spot.
No, it is. I think it's the best spot to play, right?
Spot. Yeah.
It really is. And so, yeah, and we have our album drops the 17th, the digital version, Friday, visiting hours. And then we are, as we spoke earlier, we are in the process of pressing 500 vinyl copies. And so our goal is to play and add a few more and have some albums out there and introduce ourselves to people, hook up with some other bands that might want to have us on a bill with them. And it's just been a blast for me so far. And I'll let Scott finish up anything I missed there.
Yeah, we have we have the Spanish Ballroom show, and we also have a show the following Saturday at Airport Tavern in Tacoma.
Yeah.
And already confirmed is the Groove Colony, who are they're a good, you know, shake your ass kind of in a 70s way band, which is pretty perfect to play with us. I mean, we're heavier than they are, but it, you know, it fits, right? We're kind of adhering to that aesthetic pretty heavily, and so are they. So it works out. But yeah, albums coming out. We're super excited about that. You know, it was the culmination of about a year's work. We laid the basic tracks all live at various members' houses and cabins, You know, we recorded at my cabin in Packwood, 3 of the songs, and
nice.
You have a cabin somewhere? That's
good
cool.
old Eastern Lewis County.
That's right.
Huh.
Oh, and the water tastes good, and the shit tracks like crazy out there.
I'm a
You better believe
Centralia girl, so.
All right,
Yeah.
Dawn has a question for you guys. Do you work on more new material, or are you now focused on new material based on the band configuration? Ooh.
We've you know, we have probably about 25 songs that are either done or are really close to being done. I mean, honestly, we've been focusing so much on just preparing for gigs and also doing some last minute overdubs with the record. We and promoting the record and doing all of that stuff that it's been a little bit of a sap of cognitive wavelengths, you know, for us to really go after new stuff. I mean, we will be at our show at the Spanish Ballroom. It's our intention to play Visiting Hours front to back in order. And then we're going to play a couple of new songs that are, you know, pretty high energy, you know, to go with it. But
a preview of things to come.
Yeah, preview of things to come. We essentially have enough for album number 2 ready to go. It's a matter of
that's cool.
Yeah.
And enough for then we have some that are in the works, and of course, to the question there, then we have ideas. We introduced a couple just like half-heartedly at this point, as Scott said. We've just been too focused on getting all this taken care of first, and then after that, then we can start working on some new one, reworking some older songs that maybe have been sitting on the shelf for a while. I feel, see how Scott feels about it, but I feel we've evolved as a band from our early incarnation with what we started with, as far as the way we go about doing it, how we come in. It's a great band in that no one has an ego, in the sense that if you bring an idea in and somebody says, hey, that's great, but what if we do this? It's not like, no, this is my song and it must be played this way or else we can't play it. I'm going home. It's like, that's a cool idea. Let's try it. Did it work? Yeah, no. And what's our drummer Ken, the litmus is always, is what you're doing adding to the song? If not, then don't do it. It doesn't need it. So, and then our bass player, we have forgotten to mention him up to this point. He can't be with us, Miguel Hungria. He was an original member of Sons of the Forest. Then he got kicked out. And then some things happened where and he kept asking if he could please come back. He had repented. He had gone back to Puerto Rico. He had gone to San Juan. He had prayed at the base of the statue. He said, please, please let me back in. And we were like, okay, but are you going to be serious this time? And he's like, oh, I'll be so serious. I'll sit in the corner. I won't even say anything. I'll just play bass guitar over there in the corner. So we're like, okay, you can come back in. And he has really done exceptionally. I'm kidding about that part, but
I thought so. I was like, this.
Oh, but it was a good story nonetheless.
Like a good story.
But he did come back, and he is.
And then you can come back to that.
So. But yeah, we have got a lot of stuff on the table. I have a few ideas. I know Scott does too, and Miguel even had one. He said so. Cool. We'll be back at writing new stuff again, and soon enough after we take care of all this recent business.
Big shout out to Ken and Miguel. So I'm sure to catch this sometime, and we want to shout out to them because heck, they're part of your band family, right?
They're an integral part of the band.
Yeah, they are.
Now,
all right, so Troy says, so in a way, a follow-up question, I love that more to come. So hint more release, and they be old and new?
Take that one, Scott.
Well, I think that, we definitely have some songs that didn't, for whatever reason, didn't get recorded for this set of 8 that we're going to release that I feel are really good. Mm-hmm. And especially in the studio sense and working with our mix and master engineer that I think will sound really epic, that we've been playing for a while, that we'll add. And, some of them are pretty melodic and some of them are pretty groovy, you know, and I think that album number 2 will be really good. I mean, as far as the configuration of the band, you know, to answer the first question too, now you will notice when you listen to Visiting Hours that there's a pretty substantial amount of keyboard work on it, and it really is tasty. I have to give a shout out to Tim Madera from Pennsylvania that laid those tracks down for us.
Oh.
You know, so he did a wonderful job on behalf of our mix and master engineer Ken Lanyon doing that. And it, you know, if I'm putting my 2 cents in here on live on the internet, I'm going to say that at some point in time the Suns will have a keyboard player involved because it just worked so well. Now we're not looking for like
Wakeman.
Yeah, we're not looking for Rick Wakeman or anything like that. We just want someone to fill the holes and to provide a little extra. So
yeah,
I know a keyboard player in your area actually.
Ooh.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Can they sing a tiny bit?
I will message him or message you guys his information.
All right.
Cool.
He
Cool.
was
After
in the
hearing
band.
album,
He was in the band's oh my god, Mechanism.
Yeah.
And he was in another band that their name escapes me. They were pretty big back in the early 2000s, 2010s. But he's local. He's so good. I will hook him up with you guys.
Be interesting. I was at first totally against keyboard players. I think they ruin bands.
What?
Because you go away from what you originally did. Like, look what happened to Stevie Ray Vaughan after he added a keyboard player. It was all downhill after that.
No,
I disagree.
Oh my gosh, do we have Ken? We have Ken. We're bringing Ken in.
Oh shit.
Ken!
Oh, there he is.
He's
a Taekwondo-gi.
All right.
Yeah, you give me my Taekwondo gear.
His Taekwondo, like, kimono? What is it called?
Ninja is in the house.
Yeah, there you go.
Gi.
He karate chopped his way right in. Like Chuck
You do what
Norris.
you can, right?
Right on beat.
Wow. Well, you're a drummer, I hear.
I am indeed.
Awesome. We are also drummers.
Awesome.
Crash and I are both drummers too.
Awesome. What kind of gear you have?
PDP.
PDP, nice stuff.
I have a PV, but I also have a Ludwig.
Nice. Vintage Ludwig or?
No, it's newer. It's a little kit. Like I got this little road kit.
It is tiny,
cool.
but it's so cute and loud.
Tiny but mighty.
Yeah. She is.
I beefed it up. I've got a beefed up little set. First of all, it's Questlove. It's that version of the.
I was wondering if that's what you're talking about, the Questlove.
Yes.
Yeah, that stuff's cool.
And then I beefed it up with some more foam in the bass drum.
Okay.
So it's got a really, really heavy tone. I'm really heavy and loud for a little kit.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's surprising how massive those little kits can sound if you tune them right and if you get them set up properly.
Yeah. So I trip out some of the sound guys when I set up because they think that I'm going to be this little sound, and then they got to turn me down. They're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, I finally had to put a tuning pillow in my kit because the last gig we played at the Valley, Pete was a little nonplussed about the boom, I think, because I had no pillows or anything. It's just full on resonance in my kick. And I've got a 24-inch walnut kick.
Oh my god!
It hammers.
24s, damn.
Yeah. That's all you heard. Like on the other side of Tacoma.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
I have like
a
towel in one of my kicks. I have to have a pillow in my other kick. It has a broken head, resonant head.
Oh,
man.
I'll keep that in mind
I'll get a new resonant head. It's not
We
that
need to
big
do
deal.
endorsement stuff. So let's.
I know. As many shows as I've been or going to be playing.
Yeah. So since we have Ken in the room, yes. I wanted to ask you guys about your band name. How did you guys get your band name, Sons of the Force?
Yes.
Ken.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take that one. So my dad, his name is Richard Gale. His middle name is Gale. He's the guy that got me into music, bought my first kit when I was 15. And he's responsible for a lot of things. He built the studio off the back half of the garage at my parents' place. And that was the place where Scott and I many years ago used to rehearse in our first band. And he back in the 80s, he used to make speaker enclosures. And he put these little brass plaques on them that said Gale Force speaker enclosures.
Oh.
And my dad's kind of a blustery personality, you know, the kind that'll sort of a little bit.
Like a Gale Force.
Yeah, exactly. That. So we started calling it, he's Gale forcing at us. And that just became forcing, and then he became the Force. And so that's where the Force came from. And then Sons of the Force, when I came back from Austria, we lived overseas for about 2.5 years. We lived overseas, and I came back and I said, Scott, you want to start up a band? He's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, one condition, we're going to call it Sons of the Force. And he's like, totally in, let's go.
Oh my God, I love it.
I dig that, man. That's so cool. We have done hundreds of shows, and this is one of the best stories about how a band got its name.
Yeah. So cheers to the Force.
Cheers.
May the Force cheers.
With our ginger.
Yeah, it's fun too because it's got that sort of like, are they talking about the cops? Are they talking about Star Wars? Are they talking about the military? Nope, none of those. Yeah. It's my dad.
It's my dad. I could totally see how you could totally call your dad the Force.
When your dad sounds cool, man, like blustering or not, like how badass that he like built you your jam space and encouraged you to play drums at home. Like, who gets that?
Not a kid for you, just like, here you go, knock it out.
Who does that for their kid? Usually it's like, no, don't have drums. Play something quiet.
Well, my dad used to play in bands in the 60s. So, I mean, he started off again right around the time that he bought my kit. He started getting back into it again.
That's cool.
And he and my mom and a couple of neighborhood guys started up a band they called Midlife Crisis. And they just kind of played New Year's Eve parties around the neighborhood. And it was cool. I got to play with the family. My mom sings. And so, yeah, musical thing. It's cool.
You're hilarious. I love this.
My uncle, he was a drummer. He was in a band called Juggernaut.
That's a good name.
All sorts of good names, man. Good names. So, Ken, you've played drums since you were a kid. How did you start your journey with that? Like, when did you start playing drums, and what have you done in the past, few years or decades?
Sure. Decade. Yeah. So, like I said, I started when I was 15 when my dad bought the kit. And it was just kind of one of the neighborhood kids had this old junker kit. I don't even think it had plaques or anything. It was just a no-name knockoff kind of thing.
I got you.
And, kind of just bashing on that for a while, playing along to whatever music I was listening to at the time, whatever. And it wasn't until I got into college, funny story, I met somebody and I was like, oh, wonder what she's all about. And turns out she was in the music program and she was in music theory class. And I was like, you know what? I've always kind of wanted to do theory. Maybe I'll go take a music theory class. And so I took that to chase after her. And then she was in some jazz group, and she's like, yeah, we need a drummer. You should come try out. And I was like, I know nothing about jazz drums. All right, I'll give it a try. So it turns out nobody else tried out, and I got the gig. And I was like, all right, I guess I got to learn like 6 or 7 styles in the next 6 weeks for a gig that's coming up. So I got kind of hammered into that, and so that's kind of where I got to start in terms of like legit actually trying, I guess. And then I played in some bands, and then Scott and I did a thing back in the kind of mid to late 90s, and then didn't do anything for a while, did apartment living.
Talked about that. Yeah, he was telling us about that. Cool.
Yeah, that was an interesting project. It was one of those like, playing for the bar staff and the one person who's too drunk to go home kind of bands.
Oh, been there.
Yeah, so that was fun, but yeah, we lived, like you said, we lived overseas. I'll give you the tail end of the question. So lived overseas for 2.5 years in Austria and started a band there called Shine Sally. Actually, the other guys in the band have been playing together since the mid '90s, off and on, and we kind of hit it off. We did an album before I left. It was kind of just self-produced, something I did the sound engineering on myself. You know, poor quality, kind of lo-fi work because I don't know what I'm doing. But you know, it was a record of what we were doing, and it was kind of like a indie pop kind of thing. And yeah, so now at Sons of the Forest, we're doing this sort of, you know, retro 70s, 60s, 90s rock kind of sound.
I love your sound. It's
yeah,
rocking. I just, that's how I would say it's just pure rock, man. I just dig it. But yeah, you can hear all the layers of different influences of jazz and blues, undertones, and it makes for a unique sound. I really dig some of the stuff I've gotten here.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, we're always happy if people like it. I mean, I think we do it for ourselves as a hobby more than anything, and if people dig it, that's great. But you know, we have no illusions that we're going to be rock stars. We're just doing it for the fun, and
you already are.
Make some connections.
Right?
Hello. We already are rock stars.
We just want to share
right.
the music with other people who enjoy listening to music.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Yeah, I sort of like Steve Albini's position on this. Like when he records people, he's recording them to get the best out of the music that he can.
Mm-hmm.
Whether there's an audience for it or not doesn't matter. He's just trying to do the music justice, and then from that point forward, it'll find its audience. If it's not immediate, maybe it's 20 years after the band is dead. Who knows? But you know, get it out there, let people listen to it, and if you think it has something to it, it probably does, and other people resonate with it too.
Wouldn't that be a bitch if like your record takes off like 20 years after you're gone?
Dun, dun.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes. It really does.
Like your album is worth $5 million.
Yeah.
The first original signed by the band.
Right?
First one off the press.
When they played at, you know, this Grand Central or the Central Saloon. Slim's Last Chance.
Last chance. Yeah, that's really like Ken was saying. You know, you do it because you like it, and thank you for the compliment. And and it really is. We're not. And again, for me, it's the great thrill of, you know, creating original music over just playing someone else's music and like a cover band. There's nothing wrong with that, but this was exciting for me because trying to find somebody that has a like mindset. And that we're like, let's do our own thing. Yeah. Let's not try to sound like anybody. Let's just do our thing. And as you stated, Maxine, you hear influences from where we are just because that's what you're going to. But it's all over, and you craft it, you develop it. And like Scott said, we have one down. We could probably have another one, but we'll wait a little while. And we have enough songs for it. And by the time that one's done, we'll probably have enough for a third one. So at the rate we're going, and we work well together, and it's a blast. It's a hobby. It's like vinyl. That everybody here now is a vinyl person in the band now, so pretty good. We just got to get the bass player involved. Otherwise, it's like, dude, you either get a turntable or you're out.
For the second time.
Yep, number two. Those
calling you out.
You know,
that seems kind of harsh, Mr. Hartman. I gotta say, like he's kind of a secret weapon a little bit. Like, you know, a lot of bands, the bass players sort of just hold things down.
I hope he hears that later.
Right?
Yeah, I told him that the other day because, you know, the guy who did our production was the guitar player in my first band, and he has done a lot of records, and he mentioned that exact phrase, like, you got to understand that you've got a secret weapon in your bass player, because a lot of bands don't have great bass players that really have that great feel. So, and we lock in, we groove. It's good.
I love that. I love that it all meshes well together. Sometimes when you have different sounds, it doesn't, you know, go together. But when it locks in and meshes well, that's magic right there.
Yeah.
Don Olson says,
I saw that.
Wait, that's the wrong one. He said,
There
get
we
the
go.
bass player, go fund me
for
for a new
turntable.
turntable.
Yes.
There we go.
Good idea, Chad.
Love that.
Oh,
You don't want to GoFundMe for Mr. Hartman's turntable, because that's a big GoFundMe.
Right?
Not like my turntable. Yeah.
Oh,
Now that's a good segue into, you should just show us your epic vinyl collection, Derek. Take us on tour time. Let's go.
let's see.
Wait,
And you know what?
vinyl.
Is
You
there
ain't
a
got
way I
nothing.
can flip my camera around? I don't know.
There might be a way. I don't know what it looks
I don't know from like this. Maybe not.
Just turn the phone.
What's that?
Just turn your phone around.
Yeah, I'll just turn
point it at
I
it.
don't know. Can you see anything from this angle?
Yes, bring it down just a wee bit. Oh,
Okay,
look at all that.
Okay, so it's here, it's there, and then let's see, it's going to be opposite. So it's there, and then there, and then here's my little, those are my like box. Those are like my, well, what we call them, what, the UHQRs.
Oh, no.
And
wrong person.
Go
back, Cody.
There's Ken.
Hi, everybody.
Hold on.
I'm going to talk to you about Mr. Hartman's record collection, apparently.
Hey, how did you do that?
Ken's been in
How
the
did
black
you do
chair.
that?
Oh, so
There
we go.
I got it. I figured it out.
Down here on the floor.
Wait.
Got some new ones. This case here, let's see, can you see it there? This cabinet here, this is all my Led Zeppelin albums in there. They get their own special place. Then I have some more, and then my posters, and then there's my, these are some of my jazz, and there's some more stuff. There's some Mars Volta, and then there's another room full of records too. So
there's another room, people.
Yeah, so
he's legit. He's been doing it for a minute.
Like,
it's not too many.
This is goals. This is life goals.
You can see there's a few there, and
just a few.
A few more there.
Another few.
So just a handful. And then
just a
So
handful.
yeah, it's a fun hobby.
Right. Don Olson says he's got a Rega P6. I got a Rega as well. I got the P3. Good stuff, man.
It's good stuff. I have for all the turntable people out there. I have a Music Hall 9 with a Samico Celebration Pearwood cartridge on it. Sitting on a 4-inch piece of maple.
So Mr. Hartman's stereo is epically good. Like,
yes, it is.
You sit in the one chair in the room, and it's like you've never heard music before.
It's like an RCA commercial.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to have the collection, you might as well have that whole experience, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was the thing that convinced me to get vinyl to start out with. I sat down in that black chair, and I was like, all right. Mr. Hartman was like, hey, what do you want to listen to? And I was like, let's throw on little Coltrane. So he throws on Love Supreme, and Coltrane's like sitting right in front of me.
Oh.
That's cool.
Somebody's got a puppy.
Yeah, I hear a puppy.
Got 3 of them.
Oh, I have 2.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. We have
sorry about
dogs right here. Sometimes they're part of the show too, but I'll show you. Jeepy right now, Jeepy boy.
I wish mine could be that well behaved, but apparently not tonight.
He's not always that well behaved, especially my youngest one. But I'm not even going to disturb my youngest one. He's passed out on the other side of the couch.
My pets have literally been on camera this whole entire time. Right there.
So Mr. Hartman's vinyl setup is to the point where if it's a used record, it gets played on the lame record player first to make sure that it's good enough to go on the good record player.
For real?
Yeah.
This is the thing?
Yeah, he's got like a king taster kind of thing. Like,
good records,
like you died. I guess I'm not using that.
This record could only be played on this record player, never on that one.
You are dedicated, man.
Wow, that's like a vinyl snob right there. Like, wow.
Well, you have to protect the A table because
that's a connoisseur. Yes, that's a vinyl connoisseur, man.
You just you got to protect it because I don't know. Now that I
can't even get needles for this motherfucker anymore.
New hobby. I got to be careful.
Oh, you have a new hobby?
Well, this band.
Oh, okay. I was
it's like all the next thing you know, you're like, oh, there went my, because I quantify.
How do you have time to do anything? Like,
yeah, and I quantify everything with like with my students or wherever, or I just look at them and go, or my own children. I'm like, do you know how many albums I could have bought for that?
That is so funny. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Derek will come with a new piece of equipment, and he's like, "Man, I'm gonna have to sell some whatever, like some QHDRs or whatever." Like, Mr. Hartman, you know you're not selling any of those.
Oh, right.
Maybe.
Sounds like he's gonna sell a child before he does that.
Well, once in a while you got to clean them out because you have to
I'll sell my
new
baseball
ones.
cards first.
Oh, I have those too.
Oh man, you've got some collections, dude.
I have over 100,000 sports cards.
That's cool.
Holy
I bet you have
crap.
some money in that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Comics.
That's
I have
cool,
some of
too.
those too, about 1,500 of them.
I have a couple hundred.
I inherited those from my brother when he passed away, though. I didn't collect comics.
We like the hobby.
I have them. They're cool.
Got it.
But yeah, you can't have too many
Guys,
hobbies. So,
we have another question in the
Oh.
chat. Don again says, "Hey, did you guys share how you guys recorded your upcoming stuff? And is it mastered
Ooh.
for vinyl? Are you on vinyl?"
Yeah, we will be. I'll take this one. So we recorded everything at our houses, right? And Ken was the on-site sound engineer for all of it, right? We recorded 3 songs at my house here in Puyallup, 3 songs out in Packwood, and we recorded a couple in Ken's basement. And we had Ken Lanyon do the mixing and mastering, and that's the guitar player from Ken's band way back in the day. And this will be testing your YouTube knowledge a little bit, but Ken was Rick Beato's assistant for 20 years. I don't know if you've ever heard of Rick Beato, the YouTube guy. He created his own studio, built it in his backyard, and he did the mixing, mastering. He hired Tim Madera, the keyboard guy, and he also, as well as doing the digital mastering, he did a separate set of vinyl masters. And we have already had Telegraph in Portland do our lacquer masters, and we are set to go on production with Cascade Record Pressing in Milwaukee, and it'll be about 6 months, but we'll have 500 copies of vinyl pressed.
Yes, that's awesome. That's the way to go. It really is. Everybody wants vinyl right now, and everybody wants to be on vinyl right now. It is definitely, the more popular way to put it out an album nowadays, because people find it nostalgic. The kids find it classic. It's the thing to do.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't so expensive.
Don is applauding. Yeah, it is expensive. It is.
It's relatively expensive. Right? Let's say.
That's the guy with a million hobbies.
Back in 1977.
Hobby guy answer.
At Peaches Records on 56th and Pacific Avenue, a brand new vinyl pressing would cost you $7.99 versus $29.99 today. But back then, I was making $1.32 an hour versus what you make now. So I would put it in terms of what I make. How many hours do I have to work to buy what I want to buy, and is it worth an hour of my work?
Inflation adjusted. Yeah.
And if it's not really the vinyl, then you have to justify, like, how many records could I buy if I didn't do this thing?
That's right.
Those are the calculus. How many hours did I put into it? How many records could I buy instead?
Oh,
that's a good way to calculate it.
How many records am I going to sacrifice?
I can easily go without eating for 2 days a week. It's not a problem to get that record.
Fasting is, good for us sometimes. So just do your vinyl fasts. Well,
that's right.
Not vinyl, but fasts for vinyl.
There you go.
It's a new thing. You just already started a new trend.
Well, and you get to look at that album art in its full glory. I mean, it's worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you're starving to death, it's worth it.
You just make surgeon soup. You get hot water and ketchup packets from McDonald's, squirt them in there, and pretend you're eating tomato soup, and you're fine.
You
The
basically
mental thing.
are. That is tomato soup.
Yeah, same, a little sweeter, but it'll get you
Just have
by.
a mustard sandwich.
Yeah. Mustard sandwich. Oh, yeah, mustard. You ever try that?
It depends on the mustard. Come on,
Oh.
some mustards are really good. I could have a mustard sandwich.
Right.
We went there tonight, guys.
You just never know.
All in the name of vinyl.
So,
Right, all in the name of vinyl.
speaking of album art and that you guys have vinyl,
Yes.
do you have album art and who did it?
Yeah. So I'll take this one. So I did the work on the album art, but I didn't create the piece. So there's a piece called what is it called? You guys remember the name of it?
The Isle of Death.
On
I
a
think.
Yeah, the Isle of Death. That's what it's called. And it was originally a Swiss painter that did it, and he did a series of the same thing. It's basically this island with kind of a group of trees in the middle and kind of like a blocky buildings around the sides, and there's a little boat in the front on the water with a person rowing the boat and sort of a glowing figure at the front of the boat, and it looks like someone's going to the Isle of Death.
I just looked it up. Okay.
Yeah. So that series, that person has got versions of that hanging in museums all over the world. And then another artist, a German artist, did a version of it that's kind of just black and white. And then I didn't know about the history of the piece, but I was drawn to the Isle of Death, the version by the German artist. And then I did some coloring to sort of make it pop, because you want your album art to stand out. So it's got really bright orange and red trees and sort of dark blue and purplish kind of water and bright skies, that sort of thing. And so it's interesting. I mean, a lot of artists have geared off of that. Rachmaninoff wrote a piece about it. A bunch of different artists have drawn their version of it, including Geiger and
I recognize this.
I think it's fairly well known.
I've seen different renditions of it.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that's got a bit of a history, and I didn't really know the history before I chose the piece. And we were kind of trying to get it done before, in time to get the vinyl pressed and try and get the album out before the album release that we'd already kind of set in stone. Mm-hmm. So we were working relatively quickly, and 4 guys in the band with different opinions, you never know what you're going to get, and we just sort of that's where we landed. So, but
it sounds like you guys aren't too opinionated, or like you work as a team.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, they're too much that you got good flow, and that helps with creativity from every angle, whether it's writing, picking out your album art, and putting together your projects that you're doing.
For sure. I mean, I think one of the things that we've talked about before is this notion of sort of leaving your ego behind. I mean, all of us are old enough at this point that we recognize how much ego gets in the way of everything. Especially artistic endeavors. You got to just listen to the song. What does it need? What does it need from me? What can I do to make it better? Mm-hmm. And if you're not doing that, then at some level you're doing a disservice to the music. And for me, that's like the biggest sin. Like, you don't want to do that. Like, come on, give the song what it needs, because that's the best thing.
Well said. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely can. Okay, guys, we have about 4 more minutes left of the show, and we want you to plug where our followers can follow you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Ken.
All right. So, I mean, first of all, sonsoftheforce.com. So www or not, doesn't matter, sonsoftheforce.com. You can find us on all the major, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those kinds of things. We've got a Linktree page that'll link you out to all that stuff. That's Linktree/Sons of the Force. What else, Scott?
We're on YouTube. We'll throw some concert footage up there. Really, from Instagram, you can get to everything through our Linktree. That's going to be the most efficient way of doing it. So follow us on Instagram. I try to stay pretty on top of that, with new content and And obviously Spotify, follow us there. We've been fortunate enough to be included on a couple of playlists. The Mid-Park playlist out of Ohio put us on, which was pretty cool. Kevin is a hell of a nice guy. Yeah, we're gonna be. You'll hear that the podcast we did with Kevin a couple of weeks ago. That'll air on the 20th after our album drops. And I would encourage everyone to come and see us March 4th. I think it'll be a good, energetic show. We're going to be videotaping it, grabbing stems, I believe, from the board. Cool. And so the potential to mix a legit live situation will be there. So, nice. Spanish Ballroom is fun. If you haven't been in Tacoma, incredible venue, right? I mean, one of the most unique places in the Northwest to watch a show for sure.
Good place to have it filmed too. Good job, guys. That's going to be epic. Nice.
It will be great. And on the 17th, download the album, listen to it. Please give us some comments back on one of our pages. Let us know what you think, and we'd appreciate it. And we're having a blast and looking forward to the show on the 4th and the 11th at the airport. And we'll see how it goes from there.
Hell yeah.
And this has been a blast for me. I've enjoyed being on with the two of you. And
cool.
Well, thank you so much for being on. We had a great time with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, very fun to hang out.
I'm really glad things worked out. I wasn't sure that it was going to work out, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
Thank you for Chuck Norrising your way into the show. Yeah.
That's what Ken does.
That's what Ken does.
Your way into your heart.
Well, and keep in touch with us, guys. Keep us connected with what we can help promote. And, another season, we should have you on again.
Of course, anytime.
Sure,
cool. Yeah, it'd be really fun to have you guys back on.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And I just want to take a minute to let everybody else know that Maxine and I will be playing a show March 25th at Daryl's Tavern in Shoreline with Kitty Junk, our good friends. So, yeah, definitely got to come out to that show.
There we go.
Yes, Musicians Hangout is getting together and playing a show for our first time this year. And gosh, our first time in almost a year, really. We played last June together. So we haven't played a show together in a while. So come out and see us.
We once played with Kitty Junk.
What was that?
Yes.
We once played with Kitty Junk.
You did. They're so fun.
Kitty Junk, they are just awesome. I love those ladies.
We just love them. Yeah, it'll be a blast.
There's our common thread there.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Kitty Junk. Our girls and Kitty Junk.
I think we would all mesh well together too. It'd be a fun show.
And
let's make it happen.
Cool. We should make it happen.
Sweet. Let's do
it. And if our bass player would hear, he would say, sure.
Speaking for you, bass player.
Man of many words.
But he is pretty awesome, actually, as we close up. But just to give him a positive shout out, he's really skilled. He ranges anywhere from, salsa all the way to serious metal.
Holy crap.
Nice.
That's a spectrum. That's cool. That's badass. Seriously badass.
That is awesome. We definitely got to do a show all together for sure.
Hell yeah. That'd be really fun. Really cool.
We'll make that happen.
Hell yeah.
You have our number.
We do. Yeah, we'll see you guys. Definitely. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday. And if you haven't subscribed to Musicians Hangout yet, you better. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
And don't forget to hit the notification bell, too.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for being on the show, Sons of the Force. I'll take us out.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Have a fabulous week. We'll see you next time. Take care and be safe.